back to Procurement and Supply Chain Live Dubai. Time for our first keynote event of the day, and that is Unlocking Efficiency and Agility. That's AI's role in revolutionising procurement and supply chain management. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Mohamad Ibrahim, co-founder and CTO at Penny Software. Hi, how are you?
Hey, how are you guys?
Really, really good. The sessions have absolutely flown by this morning. I'm struggling to get all the questions in, so I'm fascinated to find out what we have in store now. I'll be back with you in a few moments to do a short Q&A at the end, but the virtual floor is yours.
Sounds good. Thanks everyone for attending. Thanks for the introduction and giving me the stage. Privileged to be speaking here. So, get started with the topic is this is basically the agenda that we're covering for this talk. I'll start by a brief introduction on Penny Software, and then on the state of the art, state of the AI in the procurement and supply chain in general, as we see basically and report from working with our different customers. And then we will touch upon what the professionals in the procurement and supply chain requirements and what do they expect out of the AI in general, right? And then we will be covering some of the use cases, the journey that Penny basically went through from the digitalization of the procurement and supply chain activities, artifacts, processes, to basically achieving the AI and enabling users with autonomous sourcing tools. Just a brief about Penny. I was privileged to basically work with variety of different customers from different sectors, different industries, different sizes, all focused on a single goal that is basically automating and digitizing their procurement and supply chain activities, right? Whether it is from hotel industry to medical industry to manufacturing, that is the one goal that they basically all have in common. Now, the major problem that Penny basically came to tackle in the procurement and supply chain industry is basically fragmentation. As procurement professionals, basically they work with different suppliers from around the globe, from different backgrounds, from different processes and domains. They basically interact with these suppliers through different means. They receive RFQs and quotations. They basically interact with their end users. There are different means for that communication to happen. Now, the success of bringing all this communication to a digital mean is basically a step forward, as we will see in the next slides, right? Now, the challenge is that there are different channels where this communication is happening, where these activities are basically taking place, where these artifacts are being stored. It makes it really challenging for people in this industry to have a holistic view at any point in time, what the requirement was for the organization, what basically of these requirements has been fulfilled, and an overall look at the historical events that took place during this time, right? Spending, whether it is basically spending or the supply chain, as we know, right, is basically the fuel of growth for any organization, right? And if that is not handled in the right manner, right, with the proper archiving of all the digital assets produced, an organization will not be able to basically foresee all the benefits out of this data that is basically being grabbed, and hence leverage all of this into in the AI world. So at Penny, what we do is basically we provide a complete end-to-end software platform solution to our clients, helping them and covering all the process of the procurement, from identifying the sourcing demands and need to basically fulfilling them and paying for them. And the term is basically B2B, which is basically the purchase request to the payment, end-to-end procurement and supply chain coverage through a single platform that basically take care of archiving and handling and tracking all the different assets that the procurement team may actually need throughout their journey. There is a definite need for having a specialized solution like this, right? So that you can have the domain expertise from procurement reflected into the digital platforms, crafting solutions that are basically usable to people in this industry. Now, the primary objective, what we could achieve at Penny to the moment, is basically automation and hyper automation. The way we did this is we started by first consolidating all the different digital artifacts that a procurement professional may need, whether it is the RFQ events, whether it is the RFP events, whether it is all the suppliers' data that are basically available in the organization. All that is crammed and organized in a single digital repository and made accessible, organized in a logical view that makes sense for a procurement professional, enabling them to do, their activity, their day-to-day activities. Now, what we started with initially, we started by automating the trivial tasks that take most of the procurement professionals' time. Things like, for example, organizing, all the RFQ events in a single place, looking at the historical data. All that is basically being done as a first step. Gathering all the different requirements through one unified channel, all the responses from different suppliers where the entire organization can have access to is in a single place. This is basically what we achieved as a stage one. Now, looking back at all of this, working with tens of customers that has hundreds or thousands of RFQ events or RFP events, or gathering right now in hundreds of thousands of offers coming from different industries, different countries, we can now at this stage say we can leverage all this historical data that we've gathered to build something meaningful based on all this historical gathering of data. We can enable AI agents to basically look into different procurement behaviors, different supply chain requirements and need for professionals, so that we can enable them with more intuitive tool, creating procurement assistants through AI agents that can help them achieve the basics of the business and work around the tedious tasks, right, while providing insights overall. Moving forward, let's take a look and review. I know you guys are all tired of, the buzzword, right, around AI. I've watched yesterday the Google I/O event, right? They mentioned AI like crazy. In every single statement, they basically say, between even the words, they mention AI in different contexts, right? So it means, for us in the procurement industry, if it boils down to anything, it means literally nothing, right? As long as it is not positioned in the right manner where I am as a supply chain professional or as a procurement professional can realize the value out of it, right? So, and the solutions offering around different areas in the segmentation, from basically as a team, as a professional, from taking the intake of the organization that I want to fulfill, the demand that my organizations basically require, to fulfilling this demand, to sourcing for it, right? Different solutions, different fragmentation that are out there that it all basically, end of the day, it all falls on my head to, identify all the different areas that I need to improve in my organization, right? Sourcing gaps, right? So, and this makes it really hard to identify the return of investment. If I want to, for example, adopt a specific solution A that provides an AI tool, for example, that helps me, for example, with demand forecast, or with the saving and spend analysis, whether it is on the supplier risk identification or in the negotiation side, I, as a procurement professional or supply chain professional, I really find it hard to quantify what value this solution can actually add to me. And during this talk, we will basically walk you through that and try to identify what a professional in this space would actually be looking forward to. The industry itself, when we talk about the technical term AI, is not helping itself as well, right? There are different terms, different meanings, whether it is the RPA, the machine learning, ML, AI, generative AI, LLM, NLP, right? Different acronyms that means different things in technical terms. But what is in it for me, right? As a procurement professional, what do I look for? What problems am I looking forward to solve? So if we break down the essential job and requirements that is expected for any supply chain or procurement professional, it all boils down to one single objective, right? Which is fulfilling the organization demand, all the organization need, because you have the sales on one angle, right? You have products or services that your organization sells, right? On the other angle, there is, the need to basically spend, the need to, demand of whether it is raw materials, services that your organization procures, items to enable the professionals or different team members in your organizations to do the work as they're supposed to do, right? So your primary job as a procurement or supply chain professional is one thing, right? Is to fulfill the organization supply and demand requirement, right? What is that the organization need? Okay, and if you would dig deeper into that, right? You would find many different areas that needs to also be optimized. So that all boils down to be an optimization problem end of the day, right? An organization has cash that requires to basically spend this cash to fuel its growth, right? This is basically a given a problem statement. Now, in order to basically do that, I need to determine what items, what services do I need to procure and at what time? What is my sourcing needs in the organization, right? What is the quality that I'm looking for in each of these line items that I am procuring? What is the quantity that I'm looking for? And what is the time that I'm looking at? I don't want to buy something, right, and put it on the shelf, for longer duration where it's not going to be used. I really want to have a forecast on the demand and only spend the cash that I have allocated to fulfill the supply chain of my organization in the right manner. So first question is, what items do I need to buy? that goes into, specifying the quantity, specifying the quality of these items, what time these items are going to basically be used at, and how can I get these items at the best price, in other word, lowest price, okay, and at the best credit terms possible, so that I can basically get these items and then pay for them later, while maintaining the cash flow of the organization at its best position. So all these questions, right? I mean, if we look at it, it is essentially an optimization problem that we are solving for, right? With different parameters, with different angles, right? Whether it is the time that you want to get the items, whether it is the cost that you want to reduce, whether it is the quality and quantity that you want to match. And the way we did this at Penny is we started, as I mentioned, by first creating digital channels where all the procurement and supply chain activities take place. And then we basically went a step further into consolidating all the digital activities, all the digital processes that this organization basically undertakes into a single central platform that can organize all these artifacts in a logical manner, complying with the business flow that I expect as a professional. Right? And from that point onward, we started identifying areas where we can basically automate tedious, easy tasks or repetitive tasks that procurement professionals usually take. Things like, for example, sending a negotiation request, right, for a set of line items, sending reminders for my suppliers to be engaged in any specific procurement event, right? All this basically was the first layer to establish, what we wanted to basically help in the optimization problem that we are solving. So, achieving AI in its essence is not the goal, right? The goal, end of the day, is to achieve optimization in the supply chain requirements for my organization at any of the mentioned angles, parameters that we just set forward, right? So moving forward, I will just mention some of the use cases that we managed to basically add to our digital or consolidated digital platform as of now. And I would love to basically take this forward. If whoever is interested in any of these, we can schedule subsequent demos. We can talk about the requirements in general. But this is what we started from by assessing all the demands that we identified from actual usage of the platform, starting from the most tedious task, right? If we can put an analogy to the sourcing, to the sourcing activities in general, to, for example, cooking a specific dish, right, at home, right? First, you need to identify all the ingredients, right, that go place and making a dish at home, right? Then what you need to do is identify all the quantity required, right? For each of the line items, for each of the ingredients that goes into into the making of your dish. Then what you need to do is now, let's say you identified, I need, for example, 1 spoon of salt, 1 spoon of pepper, 2 cubes of wheat, 2 eggs, etc., etc. Now it comes to next challenge is that where can I source these line items? But the first essential problem is automating, creating an autonomous identification of the sourcing demand that my organization requires, right? Whether it is making a dish, whether it is building a mall, or basically, a green field that I'm starting, right? It all boils down to what are the set of line items that my organization requires. And as a supply chain, as a procurement professional, you need to collect these requirements either from customers that you work with or the end users, whether they are engineers on the site, manufacturing facility operation team, different means and different ways that you can basically gather all these details and try to forecast when the requirements basically is going to show up so that you can be ready, right? You want to basically build a robust forecasting way to gather all the different organizations' means and demand. So the first step is to create an automated way to gather all the demand that your organization requires, whether it is from analyzing inventory data that depletes with time and then refilled automatically, whether it is gathering all the requirements from end users manually, or basically in an automated way as we do in Penny, right? So it all boils down to, okay, this is a set of requirements. I'll just go ahead, I drag and drop a file, and then boom, you have the workspace of all the line items and matched to the requirements that you're looking for, so that you can start the sourcing, focus on where I can get these line items from. What is the best source that I can acquire so that I can fulfill the demand of my organization, right? So the first step is, as I mentioned, demand identification, the sourcing demand identification. Second problem that we're looking into is the vendor sourcing AI space, which is, now that I identified these are the set of requirements, based on the forecasting methods that I have built, based on the requirements that I have gathered from my end users. Now, what is next? Next is, how can I match all these requirements to existing brands and materials or services? Who is offering these requirements for me? Who can fulfill the requirements from me, right? And that also all the different parameters that we're optimizing for needs to also be stated in advance. In other words, when do you require all these line items? Should you basically try sourcing these line items locally, right, from a vendor who might be expensive, or should you go and source them from China, for example? Do you have the time that you can afford doing this? Or is it the time that you're optimizing for? Or is it the cost that you're optimizing for? Which one, right? So different parameters, you can ingest them all into an autonomous sourcing tool that will help you basically identify from a set of internal vendors that your organization maintains the relationship with, or from external vendors that, based on all the gathering, based on all the data that we have collected, we've put it together so that the matching can happen between the set of line items that your organization expects to source to the vendors that can fulfill and supply demand for you, right? And the process is basically, continues to, how can you best select? Now that we've matched to a supplier, suppliers showed interest in basically fulfilling these needs. Now, how can I best select the offer that can fulfill my organization need, taking into consideration all the optimization factors that I'm solving for, which are essentially time, which essentially is the quality of the items or services that I am procuring, or they are basically the cost, which is a major factor in all of this, right? And hence is the sourcing analytics AI that can help you basically analyze up to tens and hundreds of offers that you receive from from analyzing your historical data to analyzing existing event responses and guiding you, right, as a professional to the best way or the best next action to take. That could be accepting an offer that you've received, whether, for example, in case you need to fulfill these requirements at a faster pace, or basically if time is not of essence, you can either basically try to leverage other sourcing methods from different countries, or basically adding to your supplier database, or negotiating with existing suppliers, or making different complex scenarios based on the responses that you offer so that you can achieve your metrics. As a human, we have limited capacity in terms of processing powers in our brain to what we can look and track as of the recent activities, but AI agents can actually go through thousands of records as long as they are maintained and accessible to basically make an analysis, go back in time. What is our tolerance level, for example, in waiting times? What is our tolerance level in paying now and getting the product fast? All these kind of questions that an AI sourcing tool will help you achieve. So end of the day, what we wanted to achieve is that we want to minimize the manual actions that a sourcing professionals may need to take, right? Considering all the different numbers, all the different parameters and optimization factors that we're looking forward to. The third area that we are also building and shipping already to customers is building some sort of a data reporting tool through chat agents that can help professionals interact and speak with the data that they have gathered so far. So, for example, how many RFQ events we created or the organization created in the past quarter, for example. And you can dig down to a specific category, to a specific catalog, to a specific line item. So imagine that you wanted to source a line item, and then you basically have a chatbot telling you that this item last time was sourced is this was the quantity, this is the supplier. That would definitely make your job much easier in a world that has, multiple variables that you want to optimize for in order to achieve the best sourcing strategy and adopt that for your organization. So that basically covers the presentation and the use cases that I wanted to share with you. Happy to take any questions, address any concerns, and maybe through the following Q&A, or maybe we can take them offline as needed.
Mohamad, thank you very, very much indeed. That was incredibly thorough. Really enjoyed the examples and the case studies you were taking us through there. It's so easy to talk about these things from a surface level. It's fascinating to see how it actually works when you break it down. A couple of questions from me, essentially, when it comes to AI. We know it is revolutionizing how everything is working now already and how it will in the future. But at a past event, a guest described AI to me as almost like a power tool. You might use on a building site or in a garden or something. It can make a huge difference, but you have to know how to use it. From your perspective as from a software perspective, where is the responsibility of helping the end user use that AI to its maximum potential?
Right. So as I briefly mentioned, is that the first step in identifying the best use case for you to start with is by having all the foundation laid down first, right? And that can only be done if you have a central repository of historical data that you can go back to and analyze as a professional. and as a human. At this stage, I mean, AI hasn't yet surpassed a human ability in making decision. Yes, it can do in areas where it requires a lot or vast, calculations, for example. I mean, computers are capable of doing this much faster and a higher capability than human brains. But if you don't have that, foundation, the groundwork of gathering all the data that your organization has done, right? What is that you're going to benefit out of having a super large computer just advising you what to do, right? First, you need to create all the knowledge base that can enable all these technologies, whether it is a generative AI, chatbot assistant, recommendation systems, whether it is optimization assistant, to basically help you do that. So the context, because an AI, even the generative AI, can answer any question that you may actually raise, right? But setting the context right is what your job is as a user of this technology, and that can only be done by having the foundation set right, and then from that point onward, you can basically try to identify what is the set of data that I have, so that I can set the context for my next problem to be solved by the AI agent. And it is evolving continuously. So you need to start now building this foundation, right? So that you can make the best of it as the technology hypes.
That's outstanding advice. It really is. You can't expect it to set itself up and be the best it possibly can be if you do not have that foundation. Mohamad Ibrahim, thank you so much for joining us. Really enjoyed your insight there. Thank you for joining us here at Procurement and Supply Chain Live Dubai.
Thanks, Neil. Appreciate hosting me, and all the best. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. A pleasure.
Bye.